The food of West Bengal, with its outstanding use of the freshest fish, its celebration of sweets, with its mustardy pungency, Bengali food is something to delight every gourmet.
Shokhi bhabona kahare bole, shokhi jatona kahare bole. তোমরা যে বলো দিবস রজনী ভালোবাসা ভালোবাসা সখী ভালোবাসা কারে কয়
Calcutta, Western India and Bengal's most important city, comes awake. The former capital of India, now a port of 11 million, straddles the powerful Hooghly River. It's a home to a flood of cultures, cuisines, religions and migrations. Calcutta's wealthy past now stands in ruin. Here it is said decay is an art form. In Bagh Bazaar in North Calcutta, the 19th century Bengali aristocracy built their palaces, often a strange mixture of Hindu, European and Islamic architecture. During the 1940s, this once grand palace was a meeting point for the great leaders of the independence movement, of legendary artists and writers. The Basu family say they can trace their roots back to the 10th century. Shonali, who was married into the Basu family, is a singer and actress who loves to cook.
Madhur, now I'm going to show you two breakfast dishes. Aloo dum, which is made of potato. Another is karaishutir kochuri, fried bread stuffed with green peas. Here I have some hot oil. Now I am adding cumin, bay leaf, cardamom and cinnamon. And now the boiled potato. Now stir it. To the potatoes, I'm going to add ginger, tomatoes, sugar, salt, and turmeric powder, and little bit of water. And now we will cover for 5 minutes.
It's already smelling good. And these are the stuffed deep-fried breads that you're going to eat the potatoes with. Show me how you make them.
To make the stuffing, you take mashed green peas, put it into the hot oil.
Mushy peas.
And then you add ginger, sugar, salt, and green chilies. And stir it for 2-3 minutes until it's ready. Once the green peas are cooked, this is what it looks like. To make the dough, you need white flour, salt, oil, and water. Mix it and knead it for 10 minutes. First, you flatten out a ball of dough. Put the stuffing in the center. Cover the filling. Then roll it out and drop it into very hot oil.
So it just takes a couple of minutes to cook.
Bas.
That looks good. I want to eat it right away. But I think I'll take the one that's not so hot. Try this with a little of the potato.
Is it okay?
Very good. Since the 18th century, Calcutta was the East India Company's premier city. In 1858, it became the capital of British India and remained so for 53 years. Magnificent buildings like this memorial to the Queen Empress Victoria were built. Chronic overcrowding and desperate pollution problems have told hard on the city's infrastructure. The poverty is acute and no one seems to have a solution to Calcutta's problems. Despite everything, though, it's a charismatic, vibrant city. Here in the city centre at lunchtime, the streets are packed as office workers by the thousands grab a quick bite to eat. Some of the food originated with Calcutta's immigrants, like this dish of Chinese noodles, chow. Fish lies at the heart of Bengali meals. Calcutta's fish markets have some of the freshest fish in the world. Bengalis prefer freshwater fish, and fish from the two mighty rivers, the Ganges and the Brahmaputra, are much prized. Huge, meaty prawns may be expensive, but they are a joy to cook with. After a morning of hard work or shopping, Bengalis like to settle down to a good lunch. This usually consists of rice, a fish, and a vegetable, and that's exactly what I'm going to make for you. I'm going to make chingri bhape, which is a steamed prawns in a mustard sauce. For this, I need prawns, and this is what I got in the market. They're gleaming fresh. I also need coconut, brown and yellow mustard seeds, cayenne pepper, turmeric, green chilies, onions, and mustard oil, which is very important in Bengali cooking. I'm going to start with the mustard seeds. Now, both the brown and the yellow mustard seeds need to be ground in a coffee grinder. And this is what they look like when they're ground. I'm going to add about 3.5 fluid ounces of water to this and just mix it to make a light paste. Meanwhile, into a metal bowl, you put in 9 ounces of prawns, about 3 onions, which have been finely sliced, 5 or 6 tablespoons of coconut, 6 or 7 green chilies, and of course the mustard oil. A 1/4 pint of it goes in here. Then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder, a teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, which adds to the sweetness of the coconut. And then all I do is mix it all up together. This is already looking wonderful. Now, the last thing to add is the mustard paste. Give it another little stir, pour it in. One last mixing. Cover it up. Now here, in a wok, I have some water which is boiling. This dish is going to steam. So the pot, covered pot, goes into the water. I'm going to cover the whole thing, and this will steam now for about 10 to 15 minutes. As soon as the prawns are opaque, the dish is ready. To accompany the steamed prawns, I'm going to make cauliflower with white poppy seeds. Here are the white poppy seeds, 5 tablespoons of them, 3 red chilies, dried, and all these are ground in a coffee grinder, so they look like this. And to this mixture, I will add 3 fluid ounces of water and stir it all up till it's a nice paste. Meanwhile, there's a pound of cauliflower in here, and I will add 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and mix it up nicely. As soon as it's mixed, it is ready to be fried in 4 tablespoons of mustard oil, which are right here in this wok. So the cauliflower goes in. Now I will stir and fry this. Once the cauliflower is lightly browned, I'm going to remove it with a slotted spoon and put it into a dish. The next step is to put about 3 more tablespoons of mustard oil in. Let it heat for a bit. Put in kalonji, which is nigella, about 1/2 teaspoon, 3 or 4 dried red chilies, about 2 bay leaves. Give 1 quick stir, and then put in this wonderful paste, the poppy seed paste. Now I'm going to stir and fry this until it is nicely browned. And I'm going to put in all the cauliflower. I also need to put in about another 1/2 teaspoon of salt, another 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, and about 3 or 4 fluid ounces of water. Stir it once and then cover it and let it cook for about 10 minutes. The cauliflower has to be slightly crunchy. And that's all there is to it. I've got a whole lunch ready. Bengalis seem to disagree about most things, but one thing they all seem to have in common is a passion for sweets. Just look at this array. Some sweets are traditional, others are invented freshly almost every day. You often hear Bengalis arguing about which shop in North Calcutta sells the best sweets. Sweets seem to stir up great passions. And there's one that is revered more than any other and consumed in huge quantities. This is K.C. Das's factory. Theirs is the family that invented the famous Bengali sweet, the Rasgulla, or as we call it, the Rasgulla. It's floating in a lot of syrup, which it needs, and here it is, the famous Rasgulla. Milk from K.C. Das's own dairies is boiled in big containers. Leftover whey is added to it, which makes it curdle. It's rather like making cheese. The curds are then strained through cheesecloth, then carried to a huge tub and washed in water. After that, the curds are spun to extract all the water and then kneaded by machine. The resulting chana or dough is made into little balls, which are boiled in syrup until they become soft and spongy. Rasgullas are so popular that just K.C. Das alone produces more than 1 million bowls a year. This love of sweets is shared by Calcutta's many cultures, religions and communities. Under British rule, another pleasure grew into a world league business, tea. Calcutta is one of the largest centres of the tea trade. It is here that tea from all over the northeast, places like Darjeeling, is collected, then it's evaluated and finally auctioned off. With me is Errol O'Brien, who's a buyer of tea, but to buy you also have to taste it, and that's what Errol is doing. Now tell me what you're doing exactly.
Well, these are first flush teas. They are the first offerings of the season from the Terai and the Darjeeling regions. As a taster, we first have to have a look at the tea, at the leaf.
Now, some of the leaves here look a bit green.
Well, the tea is unfermented. The next stage is to taste the liquor. At this moment, I have evaluated the tea for flavor, brightness, and acceptability to my buyer. The next stage is to take a look at the infusion and to smell the aroma.
Lot 69, 39.
Every Monday and Wednesday, the Calcutta tea auctions attract 300 buyers, representing the world's great tea companies. They come to bid for the finest Assams and Darjeelings. Errol O'Brien is a member of West Bengal's small but thriving Anglo-Indian community. Anyone of mixed ancestry with English heritage on his father's side is considered an Anglo-Indian. I joined Errol's family at a typical Anglo-Indian picnic on the lawns of the Royal Calcutta Golf Club. I gather you did all the shopping for the sausages. What's in them?
Pork meat, which was minced, and there are different kinds of sausages according to taste. So you have plain sausages, you have spice sausages. They even put in a few green chilies and spices.
This had lovely green chilies inside.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty, I think, because they give you a nice kick.
Delicious. While Anglo-Indian food has absorbed many influences from the Dutch, Portuguese and French settlers in Bengal, it's the British legacy that's strongest. I'm going to make Country Captain, a very popular Anglo-Indian chicken dish. For this, there are 3 tablespoons of oil in this wok, and I will put in an onion which has been sliced. In it goes. This needs to be fried around until it starts to soften. Now, the next step is to put in some chicken. There are 2¼ pounds of chicken, which has been cut into small pieces, and the skin has been removed from the chicken as well. In it goes. Now, this will need to be stirred and fried until it is brown. While it's browning, I'm going to show you how to make the paste that also goes into it. In here, I will put an onion which has been chopped, about 3 inches of ginger and about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic and 3.5 fluid ounces of water. Then I'll cover it and blend it. The chicken is now very nicely browned. So I'm going to add to it the paste with onion, garlic and ginger, as well as a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a teaspoon and a half of salt, a little sugar. This is Bengal, they like a little sugar, and about a tablespoon or 2 of white vinegar. And then this needs to be stirred and cooked for another 10 or 15 minutes until the chicken is tender. Now, all that's left to do is to add some tomatoes, an onion which has been sliced, some green chilies which have been slit, and sliced green pepper. And what I'll do now is just fold it in and let it cook for about 2 minutes. The vegetables should remain crunchy, that's important, and the chicken dish is done. This country captain can be served with khichdi, which is rice and split peas cooked together, and a gorgeous tomato bharta. The social life of Calcutta's elite revolves around the club circuit. For those who love the thrill of racing, there is a course in the heart of the city. It's been a popular haunt of Calcutta's sporting socialites for nearly 200 years. For those who prefer to partake in some gentle sporting activity, the Tollygunge is the archetypal country club. A gorgeous relic of colonialism, it's run by a man known affectionately as the last White Raja. Bob Wright and his wife Anne have been living here in Calcutta for nearly 50 years, true stalwarts of the community.
Well, we've lived in Calcutta for so long. We love it. Most of the world thinks it's a dirty place with so many problems, but believe you me, it's the friendliest little city anywhere.
Bon viveurs to the last, the Wrights have a real appreciation of fine Bengali cuisine. It is my pleasure to cook for them. This is a razala, one of the great meat dishes of Bengal, made by the Muslims of this region and eaten by everybody. Now, meat has been marinating here for 3 or 4 hours. I'm going to drain it, and while I drain it, I will show you how to make the marinade. You need to put 8 cloves of garlic and about 3 inches of chopped ginger into a liquidizer. Add about a tablespoon or 2 of water and then liquidize. Next, you take 12 fluid ounces of plain yogurt, natural yogurt, which is very rich, and 8 fluid ounces of rich milk, the ginger garlic paste, 3 or 4 bay leaves, 8 or 9 cardamom pods, 8 or 9 cloves, a teaspoon of ground mace, and a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Now, all these go into the marinade as well. And then I'm going to mix it up nicely. In goes 2 1/4 pounds of lamb, which has been cubed, it's from the shoulder. Mix it in well with the marinade and let it sit for about 3 to 4 hours. Now, here's the separated meat. It's going to go into a wok, which has a tablespoon of oil and 3 tablespoons of ghee in it. Now I'm going to stir it and fry it until it is nice and brown, about 10 to 15 minutes. Now the meat is nicely browned. In goes 2 teaspoons of salt, half teaspoon of sugar. And next, you turn the flame down. To this, I add the yogurt and milk marinade made earlier. All of it goes in on a low temperature because you don't want it to curdle. Bring it to a gentle simmer, and then you cover it and let it cook for about an hour until the meat is tender. The meat is now nice and tender. I will put in 8 to 10 split green chilies. They will make it nice and fiery, and 6 to 8 red chilies, which have been soaked in water for a little while. Just stir to mix. And then the last thing I'll do is add a very special ingredient. This is called kevra water. It's the water and essence from a flower. And I'll add just about a teaspoon of that. Like that. And now it smells absolutely wonderful.
It looks simply wonderful. Now let's try it.
A few miles from the Toliganj, the setting sun has a special significance. For in the Muslim quarter of Calcutta, this particular night is quite special.
اللهم لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت.
The fast is broken at the end of the Muslim month of Ramadan. Eid is celebrated then on the day following the sighting of the new moon. For 30 days, fasts have been strictly observed. No food or water is taken from the moment the first light is seen in the sky until nightfall when the stars appear.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
As the mosques call to prayer, so begins Eid ul-Fitr. The fast is gently broken, first with fruit and vermicelli. Out in the streets of Calcutta, thousands gather to celebrate. It's a time for buying bright and beautiful bangles, jewelry and new clothes. There's an air of celebration, of festivity. One couple who have done their best to celebrate all that's good about Bengali life are Ovik and Rakhi Sarkar. He is a media mogul and self-confessed quintessential Bengali gentleman. Together, they are great patrons of the arts and have a large collection of Bengali paintings in their Calcutta home.
I'm rather passionate about my collection. The collection reflects my attitude towards life. Everything you see here in this house are basically the coming together of two great cultures, the English and the Indian. Initially they were called Dutch Bengal School. I would prefer to call it the European Bengal School. It's the trick and the technique of putting oil on canvas, which local artists learned from the European settlers. Food for the mind and food for the body. Don't they complement each other?
Well, some people eat to live and others live to eat. That's what a week is.
No, Madhur, if my wife insists on being a one-person Roo Brothers, what else can I do?
Well, that's right. Rakhi Sarkar has a reputation for cooking fabulous Bengali food, and her dinner parties are the most sought after in town. Rakhi, you have friends coming for dinner. What are you making?
Well, we've thought of a few interesting dishes, and one of them is this typical Bengali fish dish, which is cooked in a mustard gravy. So I'll show you how to make the gravy first, because we have the mustard with one chili, which is blended in a liquidizer, and this is the paste we get. And this we add to the water, which is about 150 milliliters, and we allow it to soak, because mustard has a lot of shell to it, and we don't want the shell into our food. So we allow this to settle down at the bottom while we treat the fish. The fish is typically treated with a little bit of turmeric, which we sprinkle over, and a little bit of about half a teaspoon of salt, which is again sprinkled over the fish, and a little bit of mustard oil. Now you can always replace this with any kind of oil that you're used to using. You allow it to just soak for about 2 minutes when the salt penetrates the fish, and then you put it in the grill for about 5 minutes to cook.
Shall I do that for you? I'll finish it off
Yes,
and
please do.
put it in the grill.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, Madhu, while the fish is cooking in the oven, I'll show you how to make the sauce. First, we come to the green chilies, which is a must for this sauce. And the green chilies must be broken at the tips, like this, because this gives the flavor without the heat. Then we come to about a teaspoon of turmeric and chili mixed with a little bit of water. It's about quarter spoon of chilies. Third, we come to this spice which is known as panchforon, a typical Bengali spice which consists of 5 different types of spices. And we add it to about 3 tablespoons of mustard oil when it's hot. And as it starts sizzling, we add this paste and we stir very gently. As it fries, we add about 3 tablespoons of water and let it boil for 1 minute, and we add the mustard sauce. And again, we bring the mixture to boil. While the sauce is boiling, add about half a teaspoon of salt and then add the chilies and stir. The sauce is done. Madhu, the fish must be ready by now.
I'll look. Here we are.
And now we pour the sauce over this fish and let the whole thing simmer for about a minute.
That wonderful fish and mustard gravy forms the centerpiece of an elegant Bengali dinner. There is rice, of course, and luchis, puffed white flour breads. Conversation goes late into the night. It's the end of a day in the life of Calcutta, but my senses are still crowded with memories of Bengal's pungent, fresh fish dishes, the smell of mustard oil, and Calcutta's rich, succulent sweets. At night, the city has a special atmosphere, despite all its problems, and there are many. This place exudes intellectual ferment, a great passion for the arts, and disarming hospitality.